What's good, everyone? It is finally the end of the 2026 NFL Draft, and we can finally enjoy or hate our own team selections for the rest of the offseason. So, we're going to start off with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to give this team a C. Now, here is why. Obviously, you get one of the top players, Jeremiah Love, at number 3. I mean, the offense is loaded. It looks pretty good in Madden if you open up Madden, if you think about it. Chase Basantis, I mean, I think this is a good piece to add on to the team, which is a very, very needed for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Carson Beck was a pretty entertaining draft selection. Suppose that he will probably be in a quarterback battle and develop over time. I know these are the Cardinals type of QBs. I mean, they went from Kyler Murray, who was very undersized, to Carson Beck, who's 6'5" with big hands. Carson Beck, if you ask me, he was known in college football to be pretty good, and then until the final, drive of games, and he would throw an interception every time. He's pretty talented. He got an arm, and we could see how he does in the future for this Arizona Cardinals team. Now, Caleb Proctor, he is pretty good. I feel like he is a low key of a steal. He came out of Louisiana, southeastern Louisiana. I think he'll be a pretty good add-in, rotational guy. Reggie Virgil, I don't think it was a pretty good pick in the 5th round. Carson Sherrar was a linebacker out of Iowa. Jaden Williams was an okay pick. I just felt like there was a lot of needs, especially on defense, that needed to be filled out, and I feel like that wasn't like what the Cardinals did at all. Now with the Atlanta Falcons, I'm gonna give these guys a C for their entire draft. Obviously, they didn't have a first round pick going into it, which they traded for James Pierce Jr. So if you want to plug him in, really good player, but off the field issues almost held him back, and now he has to do community service because of it. I do like the Avion Terrell pick. They reunite him with his brother. He is a little undersized corner who will play mostly in the nickel, pretty sure, but he is pretty instinctive. Zachariah Branch, I like this pick for Atlanta. I'm not gonna lie. You get a playmaker, you just give the ball into his hands, and the receiver room isn't deep at all. Outside of Drake London and Kyle Pitts, I think Zachariah Branch will fit into the offense for Atlanta, and it gives them a little more spark on the offensive end. Kendall Daniels, it was an okay pick. It was whatever. He's not very fundamentally good. These are literally dart throws at the end of the draft in the 6th round. Harold Perkins Jr. He was good in his freshman year, but then he fell off because he was pretty much undersized. He's not really good in coverage, even when he's undersized. His main role was to just get after the quarterback, and even there, he doesn't have a lot of moves to his games. But the Falcons, they went ahead and took a chance on him in the 6th round, so why not? I think it wasn't the craziest draft where there was steals or anything, but I think it was okay for Ian Cunningham first year as the GM for the Atlanta Falcons. Now with the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to give these guys a B grade. I do like their draft, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they should have invested a lot more into the defensive side, but I get the picks of Vega Iwani. You gotta protect Lamar. I think it's really good. Zion Young, he's the edge rusher that they took in the 2nd round. He's got some upside on him, and I think he would be really good on the other side of Trey Hendrickson, who they gave an extension to. This is where the rest of their picks did go, was on offense, was Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt. So the Ravens fans, they begged and asked for weapons for Lamar, and you may receive Jacoby Lane, a big X, 6'4", very good at contested catches. He could make guys miss as well. Elijah Surratt, he's an X receiver as well. Not really that good at separation, but he has some good ball skills, believe it or not. And his signature move is the back shoulder catches, and he made it work at Indiana. So he produced, even though he wasn't the greatest athlete on the field. Matthew Hibner seems like a blocking tight end in the 4th round. Chandler Rivers, I like him because he's a nickel corner. I believe he's 5'10", and he's going to be playing in the inside. He's very instinctive, and I really like that. Josh Cuevas, it reminds me of another blocking tight end. So maybe these are just, insurances for Mark Andrews to part ways in the future, since Likely left, and they're just getting more tight end insurance in this draft. Adam Randall will be, just a backup in the league, most likely. And then they got a punter in this class, And the 7th round guys is pretty much a defensive tackle from Michigan, Rayshawn Benny, and Evan Bernstein, a guard from Northwestern, which is, some depth pieces. But I don't really see any, huge needle movers at the end of the draft. You would have thought a defensive-minded coach would go more defensive picks, but if he likes how the defense looks already and that they don't need anything else, I believe in Jesse Minter. So next with the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to give these guys a B. This is my grade with them. I think they did fill a lot of needs that they needed, especially on defense. TJ Parker, which they traded back out of the 1st round. They managed to get more draft picks, and TJ Parker, he was one of my favorite edge rushers out of college, and I think his long arms and his ability to stop the run and pass rush is really good. Davison Igbinosun, he doesn't really miss a lot of games. He's very long. He played some good snaps over there at Ohio State. Skylar Bell, he is an older prospect in my opinion. I wasn't really very high on him, considering he had like a great final season. But after transferring out of Wisconsin and then spending 2 years at UConn, I feel like it's a little rich because there's not really a lot of upside, and this guy played majority in the slot. So where will he be located at if you have like a guy like Khalil Shakir, unless he's going to be on the move soon? They really invested on defense, which they really needed. They got a linebacker out of TCU, Jalen Kilgore, who was falling down the draft. They managed to steal him with the 167th pick. I think he was a really good depth piece right there. Zane Durant, I like the pickup too because I thought he was going to go earlier as well. He's a little undersized, but he's going to be a rotational guy that you could just fit in to whatever scheme you want. And a corner out of Mizzou. I think, these guys, the 7th-rounders, are pretty much dart throws. But I think overall, they did, fill in some needs in terms of depth on the defensive side. And they gave Josh Allen another weapon. So, yeah, a B grade is pretty fair for what they had to deal with. And considering they had to trade back to get more capital and more players, Next team we'll talk about is the Carolina Panthers. And I'm going to be honest, I really like their draft. I'm giving them an A grade because of it. I mean, Monroe Freeling in the 1st round, he's got some good upside to him. He's got some good size. And I think it was a very needed position considering their left tackle got injured in the playoffs and will be out for a year. Lee Hunter in the 2nd round. He was projected 1st round at some point after the Senior Bowl. I remember, man, this guy, he was very, very effective at Texas Tech in that defense, man. He was one of the main reasons why that defense was running. Chris Brazzell, not really huge on him, but, it gives you another weapon. And, I don't think the Panthers want to see more snaps of Xavier Legette anymore. Will Lee, I really liked him. He was a little steal from Texas A&M. I really do like him. He's got some good length. He's pretty good. Sam Heck, one of my favorite centers in this class as well. He was very productive, man. Very good at Kansas State. Zakee Wheatley as well. He was really good. Like, these are some good players out of Penn State. He was a strong safety over there. He knew how to manage the field. He knew how to tackle downhill. Their defense, it was good last year, and I think it just really got better after this draft. Now, next we're going to talk about my Chicago Bears. I'm going to give them a straight up B, in my opinion. Dylan Thieneman, he was one of the best picks on the night because considering he fell and we really needed a safety, and he's a ball hawk, man, when it comes down in the free safety position. Logan Jones, I thought it was a pretty okay pick. We did need a center. I didn't see Garrett Bradbury being a long-term option. He's very experienced, and he was the center for the best offensive line in the nation at Iowa. Sam Roosh, it was kind of a rich pick right here at tight end, considering, we already have tight ends, right? But I get it. Ben Johnson, he loves running, 12 personnel, even 13 personnel when it comes to 1-yard plays, especially at the goal line or short yard positions. But Xavier Thomas, this is where it made me mad. What a reach, man. What a reach. Xavier Thomas would have been there in the 7th round if we really wanted him. But we select him in the 3rd. I don't understand why. I don't care if he was made to be a punt returner or what, because that's what we signed Khalif Raymond for. And he's able to play anywhere on the receiving side as well. So it really didn't matter because we didn't really need receivers at all. They made up for it with drafting Malik Muhammad from out of Texas. I think he was a faller, and he got some good size on him too. He's He's 6 foot. Kayshawn Elliott, he was another faller as well. Don't know too much about him, but I've heard good things about him coming out of Arizona State. And then Jordan Vandenberg, he's an athletic freak, man. This guy at Georgia Tech, this was a good hit, and to be honest, a good chance you take, because man, he had like a RAS score, like he was ranked second out of defensive tackles from all the way to 1980 something. He's an athletic freak for his size, and I think it was worth the pick right there. So now next is the Cincinnati Bengals. I was going back and forth whether what grade I would give them would either be a B or a C, and I'm leaning more towards a C, just because, I mean, Cassius Howell, this could be like a big question mark. He was one of the guys who had, short arms, along with Ruben Bain. He had shorter arms than Ruben Bain, and people were giving Ruben Bain hell for it. But he has some juice off the edge, doesn't have a lot of moves, so can he really use his speed long term? Sicario Davis, I do like the pick. He was really good at Arizona. Sicario Davis has some good size, some good speed. He's pretty good. I think he's pretty decent, and they really do need some corners over there. Connor Lew, I think this is a good investment. I really liked him out of Auburn. I think injuries kind of held him back a little bit, but he's really better now. So Connor Lew will probably be a long-term centerpiece for them in the future, which I like. Kobe Young, I'm not really a big Kobe Young guy. I mean, he's made his name after the Senior Bowl, I believe, and he made some fun catches at Georgia, but obviously I don't think he's a replacement for anyone. Jack Endries, this is one of my favorite picks, to be honest. In the 7th round, I really did like Jack Endries out of Texas. Kind of had a down season, but that Texas offense started off very shaky, especially with Arch Manning first year starting. But it got better over time. But even before that, Jack Endries, he's pretty good. He's pretty athletic, and he knows how to run a route. Long term, I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a starter for the Bengals. Next will be the Cleveland Browns, and I'm gonna be honest, I liked their draft last season, minus the quarterback picks that they try to bank on. But this year, I think they did it again. I'm gonna go ahead and give the Cleveland Browns an A for this one, because I like Spencer Fano's versatility on the offensive line. They really invested in the wide receiver room, which was a huge need considering it was only Jerry Jeudy and friends. And Emmanuel McNeil-Warren was great value at the 58th pick. He was mocked first round for the longest. And I feel like safeties of his level and his size, and I don't know how they always fall, but the Browns, they managed to make the best of it, and they got him. And they also invested a lot on offensive line. If in the offseason, they already invested in offensive line, but they doubled down on it, and that's what you want to see from the Browns for sure. And then they also got Justin Jefferson. No, not Jettas from the Vikings, but a smaller will linebacker that played at Alabama. He was all right. It is what it is. But they made up for it for Joe Royer at Cincinnati. He was breaking reception records at Cincinnati, and those reception records were held by Travis Kelce, very own, right? And I know they already had their tight end in Harold Fannin, but why not just have another receiving threat as a tight end? It could be fun over there, and I like the upside in them. And then they also took a shot for quarterback in Taylon Green, who was one of the most athletic players at the combine. And the Browns themselves, they said, hey, we drafted him to be a quarterback. So this offseason should be fun in terms of who's going to be, winning that quarterback job in this QB camp. Now, next we'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys. And in my opinion, I'm going to give them a B grade. Now, here's the reasons, because, all right, we'll start off with the home run pick in Caleb Downs. That was amazing, all right? They move up one pick as they see him sliding down the board, and they managed to get him. Malachi Lawrence, I like this pick as well. This guy was projected a first-round pick, and that's where he got drafted. So with their 2 first-round picks, I think they nailed it. I think it was pretty good. I like Malachi Lawrence's, size, his deep bag and moves, and his explosiveness. I think it's pretty good. Jayshawn Barham, he's pretty raw. He's pretty raw as an edge rusher. He is a senior, so it's gonna be some development things that will take place for Jayshawn Barham. Devin Moore, he's really good. He's got some good size, but he's got some injuries to him. LT Overton, he's pretty slow, and he doesn't really got like a big bag of moves onto him, but he'll be another rotational edge rusher for the Cowboys as well. I feel like they were really like just trying to get as many edge rushers as possible for this team because hoping one of them will hit. They also traded for D Winters as well. They traded a pick for D Winters from the Niners. I believe it was a 5th rounder if I could remember. Now with the Denver Broncos, I know they didn't really have a lot of picks and they were trading back to acquire more. I'm gonna give these guys a C. Tyler Onyedim, I mean, this guy's like an older prospect. He's from Texas A&M. He does have some long arms, an explosive athlete, but the defense on the Broncos is stacked as it is. So this guy, he won't be like a right away starter. So, but I do respect the Jonah Coleman pick. I do like it. Now Sean Payton, he loves his committee running backs. Justin Jolie, I really do like this pick. This guy is a receiving tight end out of NC State. He was really good. If you didn't know, in Casey Concepcion's second year, Justin Jolie had more receiving yards over there in NC State. I think Justin Jolie, he will be a very good, maybe the Evan Ingram replacement. Who knows? They do have a lot of blocking tight ends over there. They got Adam Trautman. Wouldn't be surprised if Sean Payton loves him. Nate Atkins as well, but Justin Jolie, I feel like he brings some impressive receiving upside over there. But Red Murdoch, I do like the pick. He was the last pick in the draft out of Buffalo. He was very productive for Buffalo. I don't know if you knew. You could just look up his highlights on YouTube and you're probably gonna like what you see. He was really productive and he's won some good awards over there. Now moving on to the Detroit Lions, I'm gonna give these guys an A. I did really like their draft. Now Blake Miller, he is a right tackle out of Clemson. They drafted in the 1st round, and I believe that's going to mean Penei Sewell will be moving on to left tackle. Derek Moore out of Michigan. They drafted 2 Michigan guys, Derek Moore and Jimmy Rolder. Now, Derek Moore, he's a good pass rusher. He's a little older, but he's only like 23 around there. He's a really good pass rusher, and I like his game a lot. So I feel like this is a plug-and-play guy that they pretty much needed on the defensive side. Jimmy Rolder, he was a 1-year starter for Michigan, but this guy, he's pretty instinctive. He's got some good pursuit. He's got some good speed to the ball. I think the Lions might have found a gem in Jimmy Rolder. And Keith Abney, I liked a lot as well out of Arizona State. He's an undersized corner, but he's around 5'10", and he'll play mostly in the nickel. And I think this is a good pickup for the Lions. Kendrick Law, this guy, he's mostly probably going to be a special teamer, and they got some defensive tackle depth. But overall, I did like the Lions draft, and I'm gonna give them an A for this one. Our next team we're gonna talk about is the Green Bay Packers, and this is no hate, no rivalry side. I'm gonna grade this a C draft. Brandon Cisse, he's pretty athletic. He's really good against the run, but I think his coverage skills will need to be refined. And I think overall though, he is a good tackler, and he's gonna be okay for the Green Bay Packers, and who were desperately in need for the corner position. Chris McClellan, he's all right. He's a defensive tackle out of Missouri. He's got some good size. He's like 6'3". He is pretty decent, but he's got some strong hands, so it's okay. Denis Dennis-Sutton, I do admit, I was kind of sad when Packers picked him, bro, because Denis Dennis-Sutton, he does show some upside. He is very good against the run, but he has his pass rushing bag. It does need some work, but overall, I think he does have some upside on him, which could really help the Packers long term. So it gives them another Penn State edge rusher alongside of Micah Parsons, right? And Jaeger Burton, he's going to be a center out of Kentucky. Damani Jackson, I'm not really high on, and then they drafted a kicker, which they really needed because their special teams is really not that good, but it turns out he was pretty decent at Florida. So I think a C grade is pretty fair. Now moving on with the Texans, I think they had a B grade for this draft. Kalen Rutledge, they really liked him. He was getting some 1st round buzz, did end up trading up for him, and he goes in the 1st round. So this was a very, very needed position for them, and yeah, he's going to be a plug and play position for them. I don't know if he's going to play center or not, but yeah, he's going to probably play right away. Caden McDonald, they trade up for in the 2nd round. I think this was a big hit as well. He's really elite against a run, and I think this is another guy that will help the Texans, and good luck running on them. Marlon Klein, do have some questions. It's a tight end. I think they're banking on his upside in terms of athleticism and just being from Michigan. He's a really good blocker, mainly more reps as him as a blocker at Michigan, but I think they could see him being a long-term guy and possibly, being both a blocking tight end and maybe get some receiving work. And then they also get this guard out of Oklahoma, Fabechi Nwawu. You can't have too many depth pieces, especially if you're the Texans. In terms of offensive line, Wade Woodass, what a hilarious name, linebacker out of Clemson. And Kamari Ramsey was one of my favorite picks in the later rounds in day 3. He's really slept on. I think he'll be really good on the Texans for sure. He did show some good signs over there at USC. And Louis Bond, he's a receiver out of Boston College, pretty fast, speedy receiver, and he's from Chicago. That's what I know about him. He was really decent at Boston College. He was their leading receiver over there. So I think it was a good get. And then Aiden Fisher, linebacker out of Indiana, who won the championship with him. Pretty good depth piece. I think they really covered a lot of areas they really needed. So yeah, I think a B is a pretty good grade for them. With the Colts, the grade I'm gonna give them is a C. They didn't have their first round pick, obviously, for the Sauce Gardner trade. Their second round pick, they did end up with CJ Allen. He's really good against the run. Does need some work in coverage in terms of when the ball's in the air. AJ Halsey, I did like as well, though. Safety out of LSU. I think he's pretty decent. Sometimes LSU fans, they told me that he could get burned a lot. I think a lot of these, it was really a lot of dart throws in these areas. I felt like they could have used like another pass rusher. They got Caden Curry, who was undersized as well. I don't really see, anything crazy in them. Then Seth McGowan, Kentucky, older running back, my fault. And then Deion Burks, they got him at the end of the draft. Pretty surprised, like he was kind of a faller. I wasn't really high on Deion Burks because he was really just a speedy receiver. Surprised like teams weren't really higher on him, but the Colts wide receiver room, it wasn't really looking too crazy considering they only have Alec Pierce and Josh Downs, as well as Tyler Warren as well. But other than that, they don't really have a lot of wide receiver weapons. Westbrook Akine as well. But I think Deion Burks was a good get though in the 7th round in terms of depth pieces. So why not? All right, next team we're gonna talk about is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm gonna be harsh. I'm gonna give them an F. All right, I'm gonna give them an F, even though there's like 2 players I like in this draft. I feel like James Gladstone, I don't know if he was being too smart or what kind of analytics he was doing. There was a lot of reaches, man. In the 2nd round, Nate Boenkircher, tight end out of Texas A&M, not a lot of production. Don't understand. Another Texas A&M goes in day 2. Albert Regis, no, I don't really see it as well, man. He was not productive over there. Emmanuel Pregnon, I do like though. He did fall at the end of the 3rd, which was a pretty surprise considering he was one of the best run blockers in the nation. And I thought he was a pretty good get. So we'll see if he's a plug and play guy or he'll just be depth piece. And then he starts to troll again after with Jalen Husky out of Maryland, which is going to be a safety for these guys. Wesley Williams, I felt like he was decent, but at round 4, it was just bad value there, man. Bad value. Tanner Koziol, I do like out of Houston. He's like 6'7", and he was a receiving tight end who I did like. He did draft 2 tight ends. Who knows? I think Brenton Strange, he did look good last season, and I don't think anything's changing. Other than that, everyone else, it's just bad. Josh Cameron, not high on. CJ Williams, like no one was gonna steal this guy, man. Like all these other guys. That's why I'm not really big on this draft. Who knows? Maybe James Gladstone is a mastermind and knows more than everyone else with all these projects, but I just feel like this draft was just nothing. Like you didn't end up with anything to fix the team like at all. Like you could have been a lot better, took a lot better defensive players. Now moving on will be the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm gonna be honest, this is an A grade for me, man. A lot of these players I did like coming out of college. Mansell Delane, best corner in the class, even though Jamal McCoy was kind of, listed as that, but, the injuries really dropped him down in day 3. But Peter Woods, another dropper I really liked. out of Clemson. And then they got their guy R. Mason Thomas, who was projected to him in the second round for I don't know how long. He's a really good pass rusher. Jaden Kennedy, a safety out of Oregon. He's listed as a corner, so who knows if he's going to be playing corner or safety, but it doesn't matter. I think this guy, he'll probably be playing nickel. I think he's a really good DB, in my opinion. And then they continue to get Emmett Johnson, who had a really productive season out of Nebraska. He will definitely be in a committee with Kenneth Walker. Cyrus Allen out of Cincinnati, I wasn't really high on, but Garrett Nussmeier, they ended off the draft from LSU, dealt with injuries his final season, and they say, hey, why not pick him up? You know, he could be a good backup. Now with the Vegas Raiders, I'm gonna be honest, they had a lot of picks. They had a B grade in this draft. Fernando Mendoza will be their long-term project going into their future in this rebuild. Traden Stukes, I liked a lot. Very, very versatile. He played safety, corner. I think he's gonna have a good career over there in Las Vegas. Kieran Crawford, he's an off-ball linebacker. He is thrown to like rush the passer most of the time, but it wasn't like a crazy get. Trey Zune, they needed some offensive line, which they got. He's probably going to be moved in the inside. He was listed as a tackle, but he's going to probably be moving inside to guard. Jermont McCoy, he was a steal. They took a chance on him in the first pick of the day 3. If he managed to get right and healthy and everything looks good, I think they might have got themselves a steal. Mike Washington, they got themselves a backup, which they needed as well, because Ashton Jeanty can't carry 100% of the workload. So they got the athletic freak out of Arkansas, who's a big back and really, really fast. So I think this is a good get to be a backup, and that'll probably majority just be his role. Dalton Johnson, he was a safety out of Arizona. Yeah, Malik Benson, they got out of Oregon. This is the first receiver that they got in the class, and to be honest, I wish they went more towards receivers to give Fernando Mendoza some help. That's why I'm giving them a B, because as of right now, they have the grossest receiving room in the league so far. If it wasn't for Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, probably. So I know they signed Jalen Naylor, they have Trey Tucker, Jack Bash, but I mean that's not anything crazy. That's not game breaking. So overall, I think a B is fair enough for these Las Vegas Raiders. All right, next team we're going to talk about is the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give this a C grade. Akeem Mesidor, I do like the pick, and considering what they're trying to do now and compete. They looking for a pass rusher, someone experienced, and that's why they get Akeem Mesidor, which was an okay pick. They'll use him for his rookie deal. Who knows what they do once he turns 30 after his rookie deal, right? Jake Slaughter, I do like this pick. He fell a little bit, but this is a guy that they really needed in the interior. I know they signed Tyler Biadasz, but maybe Jake Slaughter could move into guard. But yeah, offensive line is a major key to protect Justin Herbert. Now they drafted Brennan Thompson. I felt like this was just burning a pick on fire. I get it, Brennan Thompson, he's very fast and he's very light, very short. I don't think you need receiver right now. Receiver's not the biggest need. Who knows if they're going to make him just a returner or a special teamer. That's the only reason why I think they got him in the 4th. And yeah, I didn't really like that pick. Travis Burke, offensive tackle out of Memphis. This is the guy they'll probably move into inside overall as well. Genesis Smith is a safety out of Arizona. Nick Barnett, he's pretty slow as a defensive tackle out of South Carolina. That's probably why. Now moving on to the other LA team, the Los Angeles Rams. I'm gonna give them a D. I don't think they're the lowest grade. I might have gave the Jags an F. I can't really remember, but not a fan of the Ty Simpson pick. He doesn't have any elite traits or anything elite about his game. He has a low ceiling. Max Clare, I do like though. That's why I'm giving it a D. Max Clare is one of my favorite picks. And this is a team that has like 6 tight ends right now. But everything else, I mean, Keegan Trost, offensive tackle out of Missouri. I get it. Probably, a draft and stash. CJ Daniels, I like this game out of Miami. Him at LSU as well. Before he went to Miami, he had some crazy catches. I think it's just going to be some depth pieces on the receiving end, since they didn't end up drafting anyone in the first round. Then I'm gonna give it a D. I think overall, not a lot of picks and not a lot of good value with those picks. Now moving on is the Miami Dolphins. This is them just starting from scratch, and I thought it was gonna be a bad draft as soon as they started picking Caden Proctor, but they started heating up right after. That's why I'm gonna give these guys a C, because I am a big fan of Chris Johnson. He's a lockdown corner out of San Diego State. Jacob Rodriguez was a good get in the second round with the 43rd pick. I think he was definitely the second best linebacker in this class. And Caleb Douglas, I'm not a big fan of him. I think this was a waste of a pick. That's why I went down. Will Kachmarek from Ohio State. This guy, he wasn't even the starting tight end for that Ohio State team. He's really much of a blocking tight end. And then they get Chris Bell. Finally, some offensive weapons over there, and I think Chris Bell, probably starting from day one, he might be the best receiver on that team, not even joking. So that's probably why his values just shot up, just because he's the only receiver right now over there in Miami. Trey Moore out of Texas, he's pretty undersized. He was like an off-ball linebacker, I believe. They got him at 4. Then Kyle Lewis, he was a linebacker out of Pittsburgh, but I think they're gonna move him at safety, considering he's 6 foot and like 220. He's really instinctive. He's really good in coverage. I really like Kyle Lewis as a prospect, but I just don't think he'll play the linebacker position. He'll play mostly the nickel or strong safety, which will very fit him. I think like there's some good and there's some bad in this class. Kevin Coleman, he's pretty average. He's pretty good. He was pretty decent at Missouri. He was good at making guys miss as well. He's a playmaker, but that's why I'm gonna give him a C. They had some hits, but they also had some misses as well. All right, next team we're gonna talk about is the Minnesota Vikings. I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna give them a C. At first, Caleb Banks, you could say it was an appropriate selection for him at the 18th pick if he wasn't dealing with a lot of foot surgeries and foot injuries in his college career. But at 18, yeah, it was a little bit of a reach considering the news with his injuries, obviously. But, they started heating up. I like Jake Golday out of Cincinnati, one of the good linebackers in this class. Top 3 in my opinion. Dominique Orange as well. Big Citrus. What a nickname, man. I wanted him on the Bears, but he goes and finds his way to Minnesota. So I think this was a good get for them. And they got offensive tackle Caleb Tiernan. I think he's pretty all right. He was from out of Northwestern, but he doesn't have a lot of length in terms of pass protection, so they'll probably move him into guard. They got Jacoby Thomas out of Miami. I felt like he could have been better. He's a 5th-year senior, so. And Charles Demings. And they also drafted a fullback in the 5th round. So are they gonna go ahead and bring the fullback position back? Well, this is what they're intending to. That's what they're pretty much going on. Damon Claiborne as well. I thought they were gonna go running back earlier in the draft, but they dealt with Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest. They had this draft without a GM, so I think a C grade is pretty fair considering they did better than some GMs who are supposed to be really good, but they could take what they could get, right? Now moving on to the New England Patriots. I was going back and forth, but overall I think I'm gonna give him a C grade. Now here's why. Caleb Lomu, I've heard some things that he doesn't really like physicality. I mean, you're playing football. Why don't you like physicality? It doesn't make sense. But they get him. He's a left tackle out of Utah. Who knows if he's gonna be the Will Campbell replacement and they just move Will Campbell to left guard. So we ought to see what happens during that time. But I do like the Gabe Akers pick out of Illinois. He's very strong, very explosive, and I think he could be playing a really good role on that defensive squad over there in terms of pass rushing. He's a beast. Eli Raridon out of Notre Dame. I've seen some flashes of him on the receiving side. He's made some plays over there. Maybe he could be the starting tight end for them in the future. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Karen Prunty, though, this was a reach, man. Out of Wake Forest. He hasn't played a lot of football. He really hasn't. He started in 2020 and then missed a couple years. Who knows what he was doing in between there. And then last season, he started playing again at Wake Forest. And then they took him in the 5th round. Really don't understand it. And then we got Demetrius Crownover. He's offensive tackle out of Texas A&M. He's got some good size. He's got some good agility. So maybe they could move him to right tackle as he played over there at A&M. He could be their future right tackle. And then they got Nnamdi Oboziazor. I hope I didn't butcher his name, out of TCU. I heard he has some good football IQ. So we could see if he could make some plays over there. And then they got Baron Morton, Texas Tech. Not a big fan of him, especially watching him in the college playoff. He was not that good, man. He pretty much costed his team. And Jam Miller is a 7th round running back who's just going to be a depth piece. Now moving on to the Saints, I'm going to give my draft grade to them. It's a B in my opinion. Jordan Tyson was the 2nd receiver off the board. They select him at 8. And I think it's a good get considering Tyler Shugg needs more weapons. So they went ahead and gave him that. Christian Miller, he was really highly projected as well, probably a 1st rounder out of Georgia, and he brings some promise in defensive tackle area. Oscar Delp, he was getting some good shouts as well, considering Juwan Johnson, who knows how much longer he'll be there. Oscar Delp shows his versatility in the blocking game and in the receiving game. Bryce Lance, another receiver I liked, who's a good get. He's really good playing the deep ball, man. This guy's one of the best deep threats in the class. That's not named Carnell Tate. Lorenzo Styles, not a big fan of it. That's why I think it's just him being fast. He's a safety out of Ohio State. Sonny Styles' brother, by the way. Just not really big on him. Felt like he could have been there in the 7th round, but they take him in the 5th. And then they get Barian Brown, wide receiver out of LSU. A better receiver than what the Bears drafted in the 3rd round. Yeah, Barian Brown's better than Xavier Thomas. So they got him in the 6th round. So they keep getting more offensive weapons. And then TJ Hall in the 7th round. I think this was just good value overall. Cornerback out of Iowa. I didn't expect them to drop this far, but you know, I think they could get some plays out of him for sure. So who knows? But yeah, overall, I think this is a fair grade of B. I did like their draft and what they ended up with. Next, we're going to talk about is the New York Giants, and the draft grade I'll give them is a B. Now, this is why. Arvell Reese, home run pick with the 5th pick. I really liked it. And then we got 10, Francis Mauigoa. This guy will probably be moved in to right guard, considering the Jermaine Illuminor situation. Who knows? But maybe long-term he could play right tackle as well. But they also passed up on Caleb Downs. Could have been an A, maybe. This draft could have been an A if they ended up with Caleb Downs, but you know, I'll slide past it. Number 2, Colton Hood. I do like him. He's a physical DB, and he did take a lot of workload considering his teammate Jermon McCoy was missing in the 2025 season, so his draft stock rose, and he showed that he could play corner. Malachi Fields, I'm not a big fan of. I know they needed wide receiver help, but they probably got one of the worst wide receivers. I don't think he's a good separator. I think his contested catch is not that good. His contested catch rate is pretty low compared to the rest of the class. It's pretty overrated. JC Davis, I liked out of Illinois. He's got some good size as well. Probably one of the best players out of Illinois for sure. And then Jack Kelly, who was a linebacker. He's got some good tackling ability, some good downhill tackles. Give my grade is the Jets, and my grade will be a B. I'm gonna be a B. Who knows? There's a lot of people that think this is gonna be an A, or they think it's a C, but I'm gonna meet them in the middle. I think this is a B in my opinion. David Bailey, they in their eyes was the best prospect on the board, and they really loved his pass rushing ability. So hopefully that managed to not, screw him over, because Arvell Reese was still on the board and has a higher ceiling. Kenyon Sadiq, not really high on. His production didn't really meet the value where he got drafted at during his college days. Omar Cooper Jr. though, I do like as a wide receiver 2 option next to Garrett Wilson. This guy has one of the best yak abilities in this class. He's able to make guys miss, and he could really work in the slot. So I'm kind of confused. Who's going to work in that slot area? Is it going to be Omar Cooper Jr. or is it going to be Kenyon Sadiq? Next, they get the other Indiana player, D'Angelo Pons. I like the talent, but the size is a concern. I mean, is he able to shed blocks when it comes to tackling and running? Is he going to be able to, shadow taller receivers than him in the NFL level? I like him as a player. He was really good in college. I just had to see. I want him to translate. I really do. Darrell Jackson Jr. out of Florida State. They like his physical features, and I think they could go ahead and develop him later on. Cade Klubnik with the 4th pick. I'm not high on this guy either. This guy, when I watched him at Clemson in his final year, he threw 16 tutties, 6 interceptions, and the year prior, he threw 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. That is a crazy fall off. I don't know what happened. His final season, he didn't look like his old self. In a clean pocket, he would try to run out of it for no reason. Like, why are you running out of a clean pocket? There's no use for it. I don't know if it's a coaching issue now in Clemson, but all these guys at Clemson just fell off a map. Our next team we're going to talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to go ahead and give them an A. I think they hit a home run in this draft, man. They got Mekhi Lemon, in my opinion, best receiver in the class. And then next round, they get Eli Stowers, who I think is the best tight end in the class. Yeah, crazy takes from me, right? And also, they traded a 3rd rounder for Jonathan Grenard to the Vikings. So if you want to add Jonathan Grenard in this draft as well, be my guest. I think it counts because they traded a 3rd rounder this year and a 3rd rounder next year for him. So that pretty much solves the edge rushing need that they needed. With their other 3rd rounder, they got Markel Bell, who was a big offensive tackle. This guy's like 6'9". I don't know how that will work long term, but knowing the Eagles and their coaching staff in terms of the offensive line, they just know how to work the offensive line. So maybe they'll make him a demon. Who knows? But then they go ahead and get Colt Payton, who was very highly talked about analytically as well. The rest of the draft is just 7th rounders who are just dart throws. Will probably be in the practice squad later to come. But overall, they got some key contributors that could start right now and take over in the near future. And I think they really filled in their needs, which is why I give them an A. Our next team we're going to talk about is the Pittsburgh Steelers. In my opinion, they hosted a really good draft and they really showed out for their team. And I'm going to go ahead and give them a B. Now, they drafted Max Iheanacho, which was, it's an interesting pick because this could really, cost them, or this could be one of the smartest picks because he just started playing football not too long ago at Arizona State, but he was really good playing football. He only allowed 3 sacks in his 2 years there. Jeremy Bernard, who was going to be in that receiver room along Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf. And I think Jeremy Bernard, he has the potential to get that 2nd contract. Now, they went ahead and drafted a guy in Drew Aller. Who knows who he's going to be panned out to be. He's got good size. He's 6'5". He got a good arm, but the accuracy is not there. But if he manages to put everything together, then it could be a hell of a pick. But they also drafted a guy I liked out of Georgia, the corner Dalen Everett. He's played some good quality years there, played in some big games, knows what to do. He's got some veteran leadership already, man. I really like him. I think he could play a role right away. They draft Gettings Dunker out of Iowa, another Iowa lineman. Can't go wrong with those, especially this year. And he's just got that look. He's got that look that he's not playing around, man. I really like this pick. And then they got Caden Wedgen, another guy from Iowa. This guy is a return specialist. I believe he returned like six returns for touchdowns last season. But my favorite draft I liked here was Eli Heidenreich out of Navy, man. He was there in round 7 in front of the fans at Pittsburgh, getting a lot of love, getting a lot of cheers. Really love the pick and really love this guy. I think maybe he could potentially move to wide receiver, especially in the slot. Or, maybe he could be a running back for these guys. But who knows? I think he's a good football player in general. Would love to see what he does. Now, next team we're going to talk about is the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm going to be straight up with you. Did not like their draft. I think this is an F, man. That is my grade. Now, Derzon Stribling at the 33rd pick. Like, what are you thinking, man? What are you thinking? This guy is not that good to be taken at the 33rd pick. And they traded back like twice to get him, right? They probably would have drafted this guy in the 1st round because they traded back with the Jets. They could have got Omar Cooper there, right? At 30? No. They traded back, let the Jets pick Omar Cooper there. And then Derzon Stribling was their choice. Now, these guys are known to use AI for their draft, and now I believe it. I believe they actually use AI to do their draft. Romello Height, he's an old prospect that's really light. He doesn't have a lot of power to him. He's more of a speed rusher. I don't know if this guy could be a long-term guy for them. Kalen Black in the 3rd round. This guy was he was the 3rd running back off the board on the draft night, like after Price. This was a reach as well. I feel like there was way better running backs you could take a chance on, but this guy, he's just going to be a rotational back for the future. He's not going to be anything long-term. Grayson Holland, I do like this pick though. Grayson Holland is a good pick out of Oklahoma, the defensive tackle. Carver Willis from Washington, he was all right. He's probably going to be moved into inside. Price Sock, he got some good size, but he's pretty average, man. Jaden Duggar out of Louisiana, he was a reach, wasn't showing any promise. And then Enrique Cruz, offensive tackle out of Kansas. You tell me, am I being too harsh on the Niners? Or does everyone think the same way, that the Niners really flopped in this draft? Now, next team we'll talk about is the Seattle Seahawks, the former champions. And I'm going to give these guys a C. Jadarian Price, I feel like just him getting first round capital is a reach. I feel like they probably got scared thinking they weren't going to get him in the 2nd round anyway. So they went ahead and just got him at the 32 pick anyway. So he's going to probably be in the committee most definitely with Emmanuel Wilson, maybe some George Holani, who knows, until Zach Charbonnet comes back. Bud Clark, he's a versatile safety and corner. He's a seasoned vet. Julian Neal, who's also a 5th-year starter, is a good press corner. So I think that was two good DBs that they picked back-to-back rounds. Bo Stevens at round 5, guard out of Iowa. Can't go wrong with the lineman at Iowa. I'm just gonna say that. Next, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm gonna be honest, I just took one glance of it overall, and yeah, I really do like this team, man. I might give them an A. I might actually give them an A. Ruben Bain, who was a faller, got some good value out of him. Minus the arm issues, who cares? This guy's got power. He's got some moves. He's got some bend. I think he could be a very productive player for Tampa Bay. Josiah Trotter, one of the linebackers who I really liked as well. Pretty good in coverage. I think he'll play very well in Tampa Bay. Ted Hurst, I'm not really high on him compared to the rest, but I do think he can evolve to be a good player considering how young he is. And, he didn't really dominate at his time at Georgia State. He just barely eclipsed like 1,000 yards for one season. And he didn't really transfer anywhere out of there. He just stayed at Georgia State. Keontae Scott, big value winner here. One of my favorite corners in the class. Hard-hitting corners. And he was really electric out there on that Miami defense. They get his teammate, Ruben Bain. And yeah, Keontae Scott, I really like him. I think it was a big value win here. Demonte Capehart, I've known this guy for the past 2 years. He was really good at Clemson, and they managed to get him at the 5th pick. So I think he's a good rotational guy on the defensive tackle end. So I think that's really good. Billy Schrouth, good guard out of Notre Dame. Issue with him is the injuries, but if he's able to stay healthy, I think it could really help them in the long run. Now, next team is the Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna give these guys a B. I think this could potentially be a good draft for the Titans. Like, just looking off name value, it really is good. But can they produce on Tennessee? Carnell Tate took in number 4. To be honest, went higher than I expect. But to be fair, he was probably their backup plan behind Jeremiah Love. But Carnell Tate gives them a receiver that they desperately needed. And I think it's fine with it, early declare, very young, very good deep threat. It works for them, right? Keldrick Folk was a value winner. They traded up for him. He's really good against the run, but there's some questions if he could pass rush and get to the quarterback. That's going to be needing some addressing to do in development, but he's got some good size on him. He's 6'5", 270. We ought to see if that develops over time. He's also young. Anthony Hill out of Texas, linebacker. This guy's a fast guy. He's a fast pursuit linebacker. He was one of the top linebackers that I do like in this class. He went in the second round. And then they get to the 5th round. Fernando Carmona out of Arkansas. Really question if he could be good, considering Arkansas wasn't really known to have a good offensive line. Nick Singleton, I think, was a pretty good steal in my opinion. I think he only dropped because he missed his combine because he got injured during the Senior Bowl. And I think, yeah, this guy's very athletic, very fast, good after contact. His questions is, can he be elusive and read the right holes? He's got some pass catching upside. He could play third downs. He could pass block. I think overall this is a good steal, and who knows, this could be a long-term option for the Titans in the future, because the only guys in front of him is an aging Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, whose contract that's ending pretty soon. You know, Tyjae Spears isn't going to be, you know, taking his workload at all. So Pat Coogan out of Indiana, the center, you know, he played some winning ball over there on that offensive line, who was really good for them. So, and then they get Jaron Kanek out of Oklahoma, who's another blocking tight end. Overall, good draft, worthy of a B. I would love to see what their future looks like, man, because it's got some promise. Now, the final team we're going to talk about, probably be a little harsh. I'm going to give them a C. Now, after getting Sonny Styles was a home run pick, getting them at 7, there wasn't a lot of draft capital that they were willing to work for. And after that round 1 pick, they select again in the 3rd round with the 71st pick. They get Antonio Williams. They get a pass catcher for Jaden Daniels, but this guy's only a slot guy. So will he be like a big superstar for them? I don't know. We ought to see. Maybe he proves me wrong. But this guy just works majority in the slot. Not a very high yards per route run kind of guy. Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee, edge rusher in the 5th round. I mean, he's got some good wingspan, but he's got some work to do. He's really good against the run, but can he get to the passer? Katron Allen, he's going to be a committee back for the rest of his career. Not a lot of, you know, pass catching upside. More like a pure runner for sure. So I think he will definitely work in a committee along with Bill Krosky-Merida and Rashad White. How could I forget about Rashad White, who they just signed, right? And then Matt Goldman, a center out of Michigan State. And then they got a Greek quarterback out of Rutgers. Overall, kind of underwhelming, but Sonny Styles, he's going to be there for a long time, at least, you know. At least you got him. So let me know what you think about my grade about your team. Was I too harsh, or was I pretty spot on? Thank you for staying to the very end. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.